Welcome everyone. This is a near start to finish of my entire Elastos video project. If you haven't seen it, then check the link out and watch it first and enjoy my ramblings and commentary here. If you see my video, then I thank you for the support, and if you're curious on how it was made, then keep watching. As you can see, it just starts out as creating stuff, drawing and cutting and more drawing and cutting. I knew what I wanted the video to be like in my head, and I didn't worry about how I was going to do it, as this was the very first time I've done stop motion style video. So I had written a script and worked out a few scenes and the overall feel of the video. I just then wanted to start drawing bits that I needed. I didn't worry about how I was going to do it. This took a long time. I think I was doing this stage for over a few weeks. More time passed and then more ideas started to flow, so I had to draw and cut more stuff. Everything I was doing I was creating by hand and just using paper. This scene changed a lot from what you're seeing here. I wasn't happy with the layout of the connections and the computer placements, so I kind of redid this whole thing about 3-4 times actually. Actually, this was one of the scenes that I didn't finish. In the main video I wanted a lot more detail in this peer-to-peer section, but just couldn't squeeze it in with the script and the 2-minute time frame I had for the video. It's surprisingly hard to squeeze Elastos in a 2-minute video. With the complexity of what Elastos is doing, I was worried I couldn't get enough advanced information and details into the video. I'd like to create more videos for each section if the community would want it, because there's a lot of ideas that I didn't use. The keyboard I'm making here was only going to be used for 3 scenes for about a total of 5 seconds. It's crazy how much work goes into just a few objects and you don't get to use them much. With this type of video, this style, it gets better the more effort you put in. You can see that by the quality of your drawings and the objects you make. Spend more time doing the small details and the finished product is going to be a hell of a lot better. Cocktail sticks worked perfectly to gain some stiffness to the objects I was going to handle. I was having a few problems with picking up the pencils and stuff like that. It actually worked really well and ended up using quite a few of them. Nice fun fact, those casino chips that you see popping up now and again are always with me. It's a kind of a relaxing thing that I do, playing with the chips and doing tricks with them. It's like a comfort and a calming thing, so I've always done that. I didn't get to use pencils that much, but this one time I was using it to create the table texture, and it worked out really nicely. I got so close to the actual table colour with using these pencils. The more drawings I was completing, the more scenes were coming together, so I tried to keep all of the drawings and the scenes separate. Creating these phones was in my head going to be one of my favourite parts of the video. Could have easily done computer animation and make the phones that way, but the whole point of this video was to create everything by hand, and creating paper phone and the screens was such a fun part of the video. 3 different sizes created the illusion of the phone getting bigger. One of my favourite parts of the video for sure. These people were one of the hardest things to draw, as I've always hated drawing autonomy and people. Again, I had an idea that I just didn't have time to do. I should have done it, but it was to create the actual Elastos team and to have them speak with the speech bubbles for this scene. But I just didn't have the time. It was so difficult to estimate how much time it took to get it all done, as it was my first time I was doing the starter video. Even though I had so many notes, a script and little scene outlines, it was surprising how your plans change due to problems and idea changes. After about 3 weeks of drawing and cutting, I get the idea of creating 3D items as well. So that means some of my scenes will change, and I'm always a bit like that with concepts and ideas. More and more ideas keep coming, so I change things all the time. I even used glue tack in places, so if the positioning was wrong, I could change it. That was very helpful in places where my mind changed and I had to place things slightly differently. After reading my script through again and making some changes, I kind of realised I haven't got half the information I wanted to include. The tokenomics of Elastos was just not covered, and I can't include everything, so the ELA coin I wanted to at least include somewhere in a scene. So if you guys haven't already found out, the video actually holds the key to some ELA. I have included a hidden puzzle. Not really a riddle, as it's not too difficult to figure out, but you can get your hands on a massive 2 ELA, which could be a fortune somewhere, guys. I've always found hidden meanings and riddles and amongst stuff very cool and intriguing, and I've always tried to do it in some of the stuff that I've done, and I really wanted to include it in this video. So you've got to be quick, as the first person will find it will probably transfer it out. You have to look carefully and let me know on Twitter when you find it. It started to feel like a video was coming together, even though by this point I haven't filmed anything yet. It was weird working on this for so long and lots of effort put in and not to see a video yet, but it's always playing in your head. You just need to piece it all together. But don't get me wrong, there was a point where I was halfway through and started to doubt the concept and if it would work, if it would turn out the way I envisioned it in my head. But you get through it, you just put faith in your concept and do the best you can. At this point I had gathered up most of my 2D items to create the scenes that I needed. I saved one of the hardest items to make and the coolest to finish up last. I needed it for the OS scene, which was the table and computers. This part really did remind me of school, remembering to draw the 3D shape correctly with the little flaps as well to secure it all in place. It was fun doing this part. I used string for the leads and coloured it black. I spared no expense on this part and it took the most amount of patience and time, and again I wished I had used this scene a little bit more. I wish I utilised it a bit better, because I wanted to actually have hand-drawn scenes being played out on all the screens as well, but I just needed to crack on with the main parts of the video and time was not on my hands again. The video setup was quite simple, with a large light box and 2 lights. I needed more lights as the lighting was a slight problem. You don't want to create too much shadow, so a light box and white light from all sides is pretty much a must. The filming was all done using the iPhone 6s. I started using a digital SLR camera, but it was just overkill. I think the iPhone did a good job. I had to make do with the equipment I had, and yes, if I had a few more lights and maybe filming with a digital SLR, it could have improved the production, but I've learnt that for next time. For the ending, I wanted to do something even more creative for that extra wow factor, and looking back on it, I should have slowed the process down and have it not as fast as it was. The concept I have seen on a few adverts before, but I wanted to try it out. With the whole puzzle pieces feel to my video, it finishes it off quite nicely, the whole word Elastos being spelt out by the individual placed pieces. It has some kind of meaning of everything coming together to form Elastos. It took a while to get the places perfect, and I could have gone even more complex with playing with the shadows. I was testing it out, but it would have took a lot of time to sort out, and I just ran out of time. This was the last thing I filmed, and then I got onto the computer work. I used Adobe products, Photoshop, After Effects, Audition and Premiere Pro. The dynamic link between all the programs is just so nice. If I had to change something in After Effects, then it was all linked together, so it would change in Premiere Pro as well. So everything linked, and having a non-destructive type of editing was so nice. This was the first time I have ever done anything like this with a stop motion type feel, so I didn't really know how to capture it and edit it. I settled on chopping up the frames and testing what the playback was like. The current final video has 1 frame stretched to a 4 frame space. So in other words, we are running at about 7 to 8 frames per second to get that stop motion feel. Looking back on it, I'd probably up that now to 9 or 10 frames to take away some of the choppy feel to it. But speaking of problems, the main problem was the choppiness of the motion and the lighting. Doing things differently, I'd up the frames to 9 or 10 per second definitely, and more lighting, because the lighting was the real issue. I had to adjust a lot of levels in lighting in After Effects, which mean I lost detail and colour in parts of the scenes. So it was a bit of a nightmare, but good lighting to start with is the key for next time. Don't underestimate the need for a plan. With more of a plan, I would have not needed to mask out so much stuff. In fact, I probably would have used a green screen type setup to record some of the hand movements. And as you can see, the After Effects timeline started to get large and complex with all the layers, but I did most of the work in there and it updated automatically in Premiere Pro. Doing this video and all the work that I have been doing for Elastos really hits home the amazing community and the Elastos Foundation's amazing work. It took a while to understand what Elastos was all about, but the more you learn, the more you want to be a part of it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.